So a few days ago I told you that we had to take Carolyn to the emergency room, and we're going to do a holistic recovery with the issue that she had. I didn't say what it was that she had, and I appreciate that nobody tried to guess what it was or tell me how to solve her problems without knowing what her problem was. The thing about natural healing that I don't think a lot of people get is it's a painful process, and as long as you're willing to deal with the pain, you can avoid a lot of medical costs and surgeries and drugs and lifelong drugs. The thing is they told her she needs a surgery. And if she gets the surgery, there's a huge risk of death, for one thing. And the other thing is she may have to be on medication for the rest of her life. Well, let's just do the holistic thing and go through the pain. Well, this was her decision, not mine. I don't want everybody to think, oh, you're abusing her. So as a result, we've had some sleepless nights. So today I thought I would do a little bit of a this or that video, because I haven't had a lot of time to think about the video I want to make. So this or that, I haven't talked about these things in a long time, maybe a couple of years I haven't done a this or that video, but just kind of go around here, some of the odds and ends things that we do. Obviously, we've started the wood stove back up. You can see the little heat powered fan. Somebody's going to ask me about it. I bought it off a YouTube advertisement. It's okay. It's not as cool as I thought it would be. I was really hoping it would generate some air, but it doesn't. But the hotter it gets, the faster it gets. So that always tells you that we've had a fire in here. I've lit it a couple times. It was 57 degrees in here one morning. I lit it then. I think the next day it was 58 degrees. Don't quote me, but it was in the 50s. And then yesterday we got down to 65 in the morning. So I figured, nah, I'll just put on a sweatshirt and deal with it. Carolyn does much better in the cool temperatures than I do. But I've been trying to adjust, because she's adjusting to the hot temperatures. We don't have air conditioning in summer, so she's adjusting to the hot temperatures, and I'm trying to adjust to the cooler temperatures. This morning, it was 61 degrees, which was just at the point of my threshold where I wanted to start the fire, which was 59 degrees. Now, when it gets below freezing, we will have to start the fire at around 65 degrees or above, because we need to keep the water tank outside from freezing up. So I got to make sure there's enough heat in the house to get through that ventilation. We have ventilation that goes, it's just above me here, that a fan pushes hot air down into the water tank outside. But when it's above freezing, I don't need to run it. I put a coat on this morning. I was a little chilly. Carolyn was sleeping, and she got up. She said, if you're going to wear a coat, if you have to wear a coat, just light the wood stove. So I lit the wood stove. I want you to notice, a lot of people just cannot grasp this, how clean the window is. So we've had 3 burns in here already. I know it's hard to see when there's not a flame in it, but if I open it up, you might be able to see it's really clean. There might be a dusting on it. Yeah, there's a dusting. Pretty typical. What happens is those ashes kind of fly up against that window. But there is no creosote staining. Creosote is smoke that is wet. And so you get that tar looking film over your window. Well, that's also in your chimney. That's very flammable. It'll catch on fire. Well, you don't see it here. And the reason is because we run firewood that is 20% moisture content or less. A lot of this is about 15 now. I can't recommend enough. Make sure the moisture content in your wood is just dry. You can get a little moisture tester. I made a video not that long ago. I might even put an up next box at the end of this video to that video, so you can see that moisture tester. There's no reason for me to show it again. It's just a moisture tester. But these wood stoves work so wonderful with dry firewood. It's still putting out heat, and I lit it several hours ago. That's the nice thing. And the thing is we're not even using big sticks of wood right now because it's fall time. You know, it's not that cold. The nice thing about these wood stoves is it holds that heat for so long. Like I said, this morning it was 61 degrees. Carolyn told me to finally light it. Got it up to 85 degrees in here, which is a little bit warmer than I was hoping for, but she's not complaining. As a matter of fact, she's actually wore a jacket. Like I said, she's sick, so I don't know. She keeps saying she's cold. I'm checking for fevers. We're checking for all that stuff, so she's okay. She's not going to die. We might have to go ahead and get that surgery, but she's not going to die, so don't think that we're abusing her. So this morning I overslept. A little side story. I can't remember the last time I overslept. I wear earplugs, and just to give me more silence. I sometimes try to wear patches. I'm kind of a light sleeper, so the more I can do to get the noises and different things from waking me up, the better. And even the cat, she kind of purrs or snores sometimes, and that'll wake me up. So I wear earplugs. So sometimes when I have new earplugs in, I can't hear the alarm. But Carolyn will wake me up. Well, this morning, Carolyn knew I was tired. I've been staying up late with her. The other night I stayed up, made tea. So she let the alarm ring. I mean, she can sleep through anything. The alarm shuts off, I think, after 5 minutes, and then, I don't know, 10 minutes later, it turns back on. So I think that's what her plan was, just go ahead and let it ring the 5 minutes, shut off, and she was thinking probably I'd hear it the next time around. Well, as she's trying to get back to sleep, the cat looks up at me, she says, and gets back down, lays back down, gets up a few more seconds later, looks at me again, she said, lays back down. Finally, the cat gets up, and she crawls on top of me to wake me up. I'm absolutely impressed with this cat. I didn't know cats were this smart. I never really focused on their behaviors or anything, but with this cat, we've spent a lot of time with her. I mean, we're always home, and we try to keep our routines very strict and the same. We get up the same time every day, and eat the same time every day. I even feed her every day the same time, so she can actually know when to come to the door to get fed. We pet her to the same time, and she likes to get on Carolyn's stomach. And if Carolyn wants to pet her, what she does is put a blanket over her stomach so the cat doesn't knead her with those claws. As soon as she pulls that cover up, the cat knows it's time to come over and get petted. She's a very smart cat, but who knew that she could actually figure out on her own that the alarm was going off? And I understand why she did it. She knows when I get up, she gets a little bit of food and she gets to go outside. So she was anticipating all this, I'm sure, but I wasn't getting up. So she's even learned how to open the screen door. It doesn't latch. So she can get up there and push it open so she can leave on her own. Of course, now we have the regular door. She'll stand here or sit here and meow. And again, you know, we're always consistent. If she meows, we get up and let her out. So I wanted to talk to you about canning lids a little bit. I know this is a male audience and they're not big on canning. I use these Tadler lids, and I think that these things are going to be a great asset to have in the event of a SHTF. I always change my voice for SHTF because I have to talk like a prepper. So an SHTF, they say, is going to be the stuff that hits the fan. Well, Carolyn and I can meat, chicken, primarily chicken, but we've canned everything. You can go to my playlist on my channel, go to playlist, look down there, you'll see canning. And I've canned chicken and beef, or hamburger, pork, bacon, all kinds of different stuff. And we use metal lids, and we use Tadler lids. These things are fantastic. They're reusable lids. It's a two-piece component. For those who've been on my channel, they've seen them before. You got the plastic lid, and then the rubber seal. And they say the rubber seal only lasts 10 uses, but they're so cheap, they're easy to replace. We got a lifetime supply of them. We'll never run out. But in a SHTF event, I messed up. SHTF event, we'll be able to can without running out of lids. They have said, whoever they are, a lot of YouTubers have said that you can't use these lids with meat. Well, shocker, I have. When you put these lids on, you gotta put the ring on. I don't have a ring on, but you put your hand here, and then you turn the ring as you're doing it with your other hand, and as soon as this turns, that's tight enough, then you put it in the canner. Well, when it comes out of the canner, it's either boiling inside or it's not. If it's boiling, then you know that the ring has sealed. Under a vacuum, the boiling temperature drops dramatically. Just my own experiments, about 120 degrees is when it will stop boiling under a vacuum. But others will come out and they're not boiling, so you know the ring hasn't sealed. Well, the instructions on the Tadler lid says tighten the ring after it comes out. So you've loosely put it on before you put it in the canner, and then you put it on tighter when it comes out of the canner. Well, the boiling ones, I don't tighten. They've sealed, I'm leaving them alone. I'm not going to press my luck with them coming unsealed. So with the ones that don't boil, I tighten. Typically, out of two canners, I have 10 jars per canner, so that's 20 jars. Typically, I lose 2 jars they didn't seal after I tighten them. Well, this last time I was doing some experiments, trying different levels of material, content in the can, chicken. And I had 6 that didn't seal. And one thing they say about Tattler lids is you have to practice with them. You have to experiment with them. You have to keep playing with them to get them right. Well, I figure I may have only used, out of all the jars we can, the Tattler lids 10 times. I may have only tried it 10 times. Now, 10 times 20, that's 200 jars of Tattler lids that we've tried. Well, this last time, I had a ring. When I tightened it, it slipped. It basically like kind of stripped. And so it re-loosened itself. So I wasn't able to get it on very tight. But what I did know was the lid did not seal. It fell off in my hand, so I know it didn't seal. I put the lid back on, and I put the ring on as tight as it would go before it stripped out and it popped back off. So it wasn't very tight at all, is what I'm trying to say. Well, I marked the jar. I knew it failed, and I knew it wasn't going to seal. I was positive of it. And I told you I had 6 of them that didn't seal. I decided to take the rings off. I had the 6 failures. That one I thought was going to fail, didn't. It sealed. It told me something. It told me that I am tightening these way too tight. So I've been thinking about this for the last couple of weeks on how I want to handle this. So I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of lard right around here at the top of the lid before I put the ring on. That way it'll make it a little bit more lubricated. Because what I think's happening is when I loosen the lid, there's so much friction on the plastic that it pops the lid seal off. I'm guessing it sealed, but I'm breaking the seal trying to get that ring off. So I'll put a little bit of lard on there. That should lubricate it up so it doesn't pop off. Well, I also thought I must be tightening these too tight because that ring that popped off, and I put it on very lightly and it sealed up. Well, this morning I watched a video of a person who I used to watch all the time, but I've kind of given up on her. Well, she had one about Tattler lids today, and I was watching her. Now, she does the same process I do. She puts the lids or the rings on loosely, puts them in the canner, comes back out, and then she tightens them. But I was watching her tightness compared to my tightness. My tightness is, I really crank down on them. But she does, I even said this to Carolyn, a girl tight. Just a little twist. And she considered that tight. And she doesn't have problems with Tattler lids. Now, when you have a failure, I should mention, you can recan them. So what I've done a little experiment. I'll come back to this video later in the future to tell you how the experiment went. But today, I just boiled some water. I figure I don't get a chance to experiment enough. I only can about once a month. So I need to start doing more experimenting. So I boiled some water and I poured them in the jars. And I lubricated the lid with lard right here at the top. And I put the ring on just like she did, just a little twist. I've set them down in the camper. I'm gonna let them sit for 24 hours and I'm gonna open them up and see how they did. You can get these lids to seal under boiling temperature. I mean, if you think about it, you can do water baths with tomatoes, acidic foods. You can do water baths. So you don't have to have that high temperature. So I figure the boiling temperature should create enough of a vacuum to see if that's going to work. Carolyn is wanting to start canning more broth. I mean, we've got broth. That's chicken broth. We can the chicken broth. Now with chicken broth, I have noticed that I would prefer to use metal lids. The reason is sometimes, for whatever reason, they boil over. You take them out of the canner, you set them on the counter, and they go, and somehow that liquid shoots out of it, even though there's a lid on it with a ring. They still seal somehow. They seal up. I've never had a failure, but if I were using Tattler lids, I know it wouldn't seal. I'm confident it wouldn't seal. So we use metal lids. Now you can buy the China stuff off Amazon, and you can get, I don't know, I think 12 dozen for $26. I've never had a problem with it, but a lot of people on YouTube scream that they're just terrible. But it is concerning that we're using them. So I went to Dollar General the other day, and I picked up 3 packs of canning lids. And there were 3 a pack, so $9 for those, which is, in my mind, really expensive. You're really running up your cost, especially with chicken, because if you're to use it on chicken, you're having to use 10 lids to fill up your canner. So I would like to start using the Tattler lids on broth, but I got to figure out how to make them work on chicken first before I even think about putting them on the broth. So I went to Amazon today and I looked at ball lids, and they're actually more expensive than the stuff that we found at Dollar General. You want to try to keep your costs down when you're canning. That was kind of one of the points of doing it. You know, we go get that bagged chicken and we can all that bagged chicken up. But if you're spending all your money on canning supplies, it's not a savings. So if you click this up next box, that take you to a video where I was talking about the wood stove. So I hope I can inspire you to work through your problems so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.